All right, here we go. We'll go live, and then we'll do our 3, 2, 1 after. What's up, everybody? We're live on YouTube. This is Straight Facts Homie, Mason, John, and Walter. We are going to react to the Patriots and Jets earlier today, about 15, 20 minutes or so. Find us on Facebook and Twitter is our social media pages, Straight Facts Homie. Vimeo is where the entire video is found on TCAM TV page. And you'll see the whole show here, and we'll just live stream our Pats and Jets reaction. Let's get to it. Questions, comments. I see you guys waiting. Appreciate you. Sorry, we were a little bit late here, but let's get to it right now. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into the one and only Straight Facts Homie, a 60-minute NFL TV show coming your way. I'm Mason Souza. This is Walter Sabina and John Lyons. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are live streaming on YouTube. You can join us there, join the conversation. If you want to talk Pats, anything else NFL, and we'll do that right now. The Patriots and Jets. Week 8 has come and gone. The New England Patriots get a win, a much-needed win, over the dreaded foes, New York Jets. 13 straight wins now, ties for the most out of any team in the NFL. Only the Chiefs and Broncos are at 13 as well. But let's get right to it. 22-17, Patriots get back to 500. Walter, let's begin with you. Your main takeaway from the Pats beating the Jets.
Yeah, it was like a tale of, offense and defense. The defense played really well, and then you look at the offense and they played very subpar for what they could have done today, especially, Mac Jones himself. And again, you had some movement on the offensive line, which kind of maybe caused Mac Jones into some questionable decisions. And again, some of it comes from himself. We saw the pick six that went the other way that luckily got called back due to a roughing the passer call. And I wrote down in my notes, like, who was he throwing it to? Because if you watch the footage of, what we saw on TV, like, where was that ball going? Why did he make that decision? So even though it was brought back, you still kind of scratch your head as to that, decision and why he made that pass. But again, like, offensively, a lot more to be desired. Mac Jones got sacked 6 times. At some point, I'm pretty sure I thought he had more rushing yards than he did passing yards, but I looked at the stats and he did, in fact, have more passing yards. But the way the last 2 weeks has kind of tucked the ball and ran. And I don't know if it's not trust in the offensive line, not trust in the play calling or what it is, but it seems like he's almost maybe a half a second or a second too early on tucking that ball and then making the run for it. But it ends up kind of working out for the most part, but you don't want to see your quarterback who's just coming off a high ankle sprain, who's been out for the 4 weeks, running as much as he was. And like I said, at one point he was the leading rusher on the team. Defensively, played lights out. We made Zach Wilson look like Sam Darnold on Monday night a couple of years ago, where he was seeing ghosts, throwing interceptions, throwing up prayers, hoping they were answered. And you got Devin McCourty on the back end coming down with them. So even without guys like Christian Barmore in the lineup and Kyle Duggar, we had a big day against a Jets team that may have been hindered a little bit with the loss of Breece Hall last week to the ACL injury. And they had to kind of muster up some sort of different game plan to try to take down, our defense and score some points. But like I said, the defense played really well. The offense played very subpar, and it showed on the stat sheet and it showed on the scoreboard at the end of the game, because when the Jets put that final drive together, I was thinking, this game's not over. They get a touchdown here. We're an onside kick away from some crazy stuff happening. And we saw it in the Jets Cleveland game a couple weeks ago. So anything was possible. But like I said, thank goodness that the defense played really well and put a lot of pressure on Zach Wilson and made him force him into some mistakes, because I still think the offense has a lot of work to do moving forward, even though we're at the midpoint of the season.
Yeah, and it's funny because that roughing the passer call might go down as the call that saves their season. If they end up going on a run and making the playoffs, we'll probably look at that call as the one that saved their season. Because if they go down 17-3 in that spot, considering how bad they played on Monday night, I don't know if they would have come back and won, and we'd be looking at a team that was essentially out of the playoff race now. So that call, again, might be the biggest moment of their season. For the game as a whole, I thought defensively, the Patriots played really well overall. They gave up 387 total yards, but 88 of those were on the Jets' final drive when it seemed like the Patriots had kind of checked out, which obviously was a bad thing. But through the most part or the majority of the game, I thought the Patriots defense played really well. They gave up a 5-yard run on the first play from scrimmage, and I was a little concerned then because we know how bad their run defense was last week and how bad it was at times earlier this year. They gave up 46 rushing yards total the rest of the game. So they were much better against the run than they've been in past weeks, especially better than they were Monday night. Part of that was Breece Hall being out. Part of that was Elijah Vera-Tucker being out. But part of it was they just played a lot better against the run, which I think was a good thing. Zach Wilson still looks awful. He hasn't gotten any better than last year. I mean, those interceptions, especially the 2 to Devin McCourty, they were as bad, if not worse, than the Mac Jones pick 6 decision. I mean, they were terrible. Offensively, I think Walter kind of hit the nail on the head. They didn't play terribly, but they didn't play as well as they could have. It was a very subpar performance in that they didn't finish a lot of drives. A 1 touchdown drive, all their other scoring drives were field goal drives. We saw them go 3 and out after both of Devin McCourty's interceptions. They were just lucky that one of those 3 and outs, they were already in field goal range. So they were able to get 3 points out of it, but not a lot of finishing drives. So it was better offensively than they were on Monday night. They were able to put more drives together, more plays together, but it still leaves some room to be desired. And I think as we look forward later in the show to the Colts game next week, one of the things we're going to be talking about is better pass protection by the O-line, Mac Jones getting rid of the ball faster too.
Yeah, you guys hit on it really all across the board there. I guess the first thing to say is we said it in the group chat before, right when the game ended, like all in all, that's a C performance. And I think we all agreed on that. Walter, you started and we were like, absolutely, you're totally right. The offense, a lot more to be desired. I think that was the phrase you used. Defense lights out in the second half. Just we're there at the right spot when Zach Wilson decided to forget how to play football in the second half. And yes, happy Halloween. He was seeing ghosts out there, it seemed. And yeah, you both illustrated it perfectly. That could have been a completely different game if that pick 6 goes into the end zone. And, that's not an interception because, there was a pass rush on Mac Jones' face. He was hit well after the ball was thrown, just a dreadful throw. And then the penalty saves them. They end up getting the field goal, no harm, no foul in the end, 10-6. And then, Nick Folk, MVP, 5 for 5. He just continues what he's doing from under 50 yards, just being one of the best kickers. Let's just take a moment and pause for a second. Nick Folk 5-6 years ago when he was on the Bucs was missing everything, and Patriots just took a flyer on Folk. And in the last 5 years, Nick Folk has been one of the best kickers in the NFL. That gets overlooked, and he's one of the reasons why they've been winning these close games by a touchdown or less, because he's been nailing 3, 4, 5 field goals in a game. So credit to him. But like focusing more so on the offense, Mac Jones solid in completion percentage. But if you watch the game, I think, Walter, you also mentioned it, looking to run on 3rd and long rather than, in John, you saying it, not going through his progressions fast enough. Yeah, it seems like we have a regression. And we were saying this at the start of the year, or at least I was. There was red flags there with changing up offense, new coordinators who aren't necessarily well-versed with the offense. This has the, recipe for a down second year. And we're seeing that with Mac Jones. He was much better his rookie year than what we're seeing. I know he's coming off an ankle sprain, but we even saw it last week on Monday night, not even last week, six days ago, prior to the Jets game. Like, he looked like he was fine running around on that ankle, wanting to take off with the ball. It just seems stagnant. It's hit or miss execution, play calling at times too. There was a play down at the goal line, 3rd and 1, where they lined up 5 wide. Like, what's the point here? Next play, 4th and 1, they go for it. That's the only touchdown of the game for the Patriots, the Jacoby Myers touchdown. So, a win's a win. It was much needed. They get to 500 in a very competitive AFC East, one of only 2 divisions where every 4 teams are at 500 or above. The other division is NFC East, which is crazy enough since that division has been trashed for some time now. Just a strange year, all in all, and this game kind of comes to it as well. 6 for 19 on 3rd down is not good, but Jets were even worse, 5 for whatever they were, 15, maybe 16, even less. So they took advantage of a bad offense in the second half. They got field goals. They took the lead. That last defensive possession was disheartening a little bit, letting up those 88 yards, as John, you mentioned. But is what it is. You make better. Bill Belichick passes George Halas to get into second alone, and you build from here.
Yeah, and what I was writing in my notes throughout the game was, like you said, Mason, it was sort of hit or miss where they'd get the ball, and I would write in my notes, let's see if they can put a drive together here, instead of like quickly getting to third down. And what I saw a lot of today was, third and long, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 plus, whether it be Mac Jones getting sacked 6 times today, putting them, most of the times I felt like it was on second down, so you put your team in a 3rd and long. The team was good on third down today. I mean, the 6 for 19 on third down may not seem good, but that drive after the Jets got a field goal, I think the drive for you to tie it up was 15 plays. You converted about 3 or 4 third downs on that play. Credit to Jacoby Myers for getting open on those third downs. Mac Jones completing the passes to him. So you were terrible on first and second down. You couldn't run the ball in the first half. Ramondre Stevenson was only picking up, a yard or two, and you're sitting there in 3rd and 7. Mac Jones would convert it, and this is probably the second or third drive. But the too many times where we couldn't get an actual drive together, where a couple of yards on first down, a couple of yards on second down, and set you up with third and manageable. Too many times we were in 3rd and 10 plus, and like I said, 6 of 19 kind of doesn't tell the story, because a lot of times we converted those third downs, but too many times we just shot ourselves in the foot, whether it be with penalties, whether it be with the sacks. Mac Jones maybe not trusting, whether it be himself, his line, his receivers, whatever. I know the Jets did a decent job of covering our receivers in man-to-man. Like I said, you saw Mac Jones scramble or ultimately hold the ball too long and end up getting sacked. So there was also one drive that I was kind of questionable about. They had driven the ball downfield. They went for it on that 4th down. I think Mac Jones had scrambled to the left, tried to throw it up, lofted over the Jets defender's head to Jacoby Myers, and it was just out of his reach. A couple plays later, Jawan Bentley gets the interception. We're right back in business, hoping to get some points before the half. It was 10-3 at this point, and it seemed like we were content with just going for the field goal. There was no shots downfield by Mac Jones to try to threaten to get, whether it be a touchdown, a penalty to set us up for 1st and goal, whatever. We were just content with, the field position we had, running the ball, getting into field position, and taking the 3 points and going into the half down 10-6. So I don't know. There's just still something off to me about the offensive play calling, and I don't know whether it's Patricia not, trusting Jones not buying into what the offense is doing. There's something there that's just not adding up to me, and there's a reason why this offense isn't chugging along like it was last year. And again, Josh McDaniels was here last year. He was, a savant when it comes to offensive play calling, and now you've got Patricia, who's kind of learning on the fly as he does his job. But again, something just seems off to me with the play calling, and despite getting the win because of how well the defense played today, you're going to play some games where the defense is going to give up a couple more points and the offense is going to have to play from behind. And can you do that? And can the offense have success? Because field goals are fine, but there's going to be some games where you need to score touchdowns. And I'm still on the fence whether the offense can do that or not.
Yeah, Walter, I'm glad you brought up that end of half not being as aggressive. I think it was because they still had that vision of Mac Jones throwing the pick 6 in their mind right before that. I think if he doesn't make that bad decision and throw, maybe they are a little bit more aggressive there. So I didn't love some of Patricia's play calling today, but that one I kind of understood, because Mac Jones had just essentially thrown a pick 6. I know it was wiped off the board. And you mentioned third down, and I completely agree. This offense is not built to convert 3rd and long. I mean, they were 3 of 4 on third down on their first drive. The rest of the game, they were 3 of 15. So this offense is not meant to convert really anything more than 3rd and 5. And I'm not saying they'll never do it, but it's pretty rare for them to be able to convert anything, which makes for them 1st and 2nd down so important, which is why I thought the most important offensive player of the game today was Ramondre Stevenson. He's, by the way, sixth time in Patriots history, a player has had 70 receiving yards and 70 rushing yards in the same game. So Ramondre Stevenson did that today, only his 6th time. But I thought that was so important because he was able to get them positive yards on first down, including times where there were Jet players in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. He was able to make guys miss, get positive yardage, and that was able to set them up on 2nd and manageable, 3rd and short, and keep the drive going. Because when they weren't in those situations, when they were in 3rd and medium and 3rd and long, after that first drive, they just couldn't get it. And that's why we saw them settle for so many field goals, not just that end of the first half, but they had 1 touchdown drive and 5 field goal drives. And it came down to a little bit of a lack of aggressiveness, but they just couldn't execute on third downs, or they kept getting penalties and being in 1st and 15s or 2nd and 12s. And that, to me, with their offense, with a young quarterback, an inexperienced play caller, and nobody in the skill group that's an A guy. I mean, we talk, they have a lot of B+ guys, B guy. That's good. But 3rd and long is when you want an A guy, and they don't have that guy. And I think when you put all that together, the biggest thing I'm looking for in the future, I mentioned before, is improved offensive line play and Matt getting the ball out, but just positive yards on 1st down as well, I think is going to be critical for them going forward.
Got about a couple of minutes left here reacting to Patriots and Jets. You're watching Straight Facts Homie. We're live on YouTube, which we will be the rest of the year, reacting to the Patriots game. You can find us there, join the conversation. Mason, John, and Walter. We're on Facebook and Twitter. I guess my final point, and I'll pose a question to you guys as well. You guys kind of both mentioned it in the last go round here. Kind of scared of Mac Jones, that final first half of the game there, because like you mentioned, John, they just had the vision of the pick six in their mind, like, okay, let's just get 3 points and get out of here. Let's get to the locker room. So do you think there's a leash now, to lack of a better phrase, on Mac Jones? Like if he were to throw that interception, you could put it up him on his fault, that one interception. He held the ball a little too long, but Marcus Cannon gets beat. Ball goes up in the air, easy interception. It just seems, and Walter, again, to your point, it just seems something was off, whether it was the play calling, execution. And my second point is, and you guys were on last week, I wasn't able to make it, but I think you guys kind of hinted about the play calling difference between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. Matt Patricia was asked about that early leading up to the Jets game. He denied that, basically saying like, we just, whatever. It's the game plan for both quarterbacks. But you can't help but notice it's just a little different. There's some plays. Do you buy into that? And I guess my final thing to say, you mentioned Ramondre Stevenson, John. It probably is definitely recency biased, but he might be the best 3-down back Bill Belichick has ever had. He's turning into a tremendous pass catcher. We saw that in this game. He's not in James White territory just yet, but he's getting there. And, obviously 1st and 2nd down, he's juking in the backfield. He's breaking tackles. I thought he had one of his best games today.
Yeah. And, when you look at Ramondre Stevenson, maybe even for his size, he's probably the best 3-down back. Cause we've had guys that were 3-down backs, like you said, James White, Dion Lewis, but those were kind of guys on the smaller end. Ramondre Stevenson can be that guy to, take that pounding on 1st and 2nd down and still line up for you on 3rd down and catch some passes out of the backfield. Like 7 catches, 72 yards. And just going back to you and your statement about kind of the play calling between Zappi and Mac Jones, there was a couple times today, we saw Ramondre Stevenson with 7 catches today. He had, 8 catches last week with Bailey Zappi in the game. They ran that kind of quick swing pass to Stevenson that they did a lot with Zappi last week. So again, there's a difference in the play calling between the two. You can't doubt that. And both quarterbacks have different skill sets. I think Bailey Zappi is kind of like a quicker decision maker and gets the ball out of his hands quicker, where Mac Jones will kind of dissect the play and go through his reads and his option, first guy, second guy, third guy, where am I going to throw the ball? And sometimes it could be his demise and his downfall. And it led to, a couple sacks. We saw 6 of them today. So, but like I said, I think it comes down to a different skill set that each quarterback has. So it looks like you're calling plays differently, but there is a bit of a different play calling. And you saw some of that, I think, Bailey Zappi play calling in terms of getting Ramondre Stevenson in the passing game more, getting him the ball quickly out of the backfield and letting him make things happen, because he was really one of the only guys on the offensive end that was able to move the ball for you and at least get the ball in position for Nick Folk to kick some field goals. Because again, like I said, something just seems off about Mac Jones, whether the health isn't there, the confidence level. Again, we talked ad nauseum last week about, how much that decision to take him out of the game, what it did to his confidence. And then, this week he gets the start, but how much of that confidence is actually there with what happened last week. So, it's still a lot of questions to be answered, in my opinion, but, you've got to combine. I think you can combine some of that play calling that you use for Bailey Zappi, give it to Mac Jones, let him make some easy throws and get Ramondre Stevenson involved in the passing game some more, because he seems like a reliable piece to get the ball in his hands and he'll make something happen. So, I think you've got to put some more of that Bailey Zappi play calling in, even though he says it's the same all these experts that have watched game film have said it's different from Mac Jones to Bailey Zappi. So just get some more of that Bailey Zappi play calling to Mac Jones, and hopefully he can make the decisions quicker, not throw the interceptions like he did, even though it was called back to roughing the passer. And we'll see what happens, because we got to remember the toughest part of the schedule is coming up in just a few weeks. And if the offense continues to play like this, it could be a tough road down the final couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, look, I think when it comes to the play calling, I do think they call some more easier, more manageable things for Zappi because he's younger, because he's newer. And I think a byproduct of that is it makes it easier for everybody else. It's easier for the receivers, the offensive line. It's probably easier for Matt Patricia to just make easier calls that are more straightforward. And the other thing is it forces Bailey Zappi to get rid of the ball faster. And that, to me, the biggest issue I had with Mac Jones today is he didn't get rid of the ball fast. Besides that horrendous pick six decision, he held on to the ball way too long. It was like he was waiting for things to develop further down the field on almost every sack they took. And I know a couple of them, including the actual interception he threw, was a case of the offensive line getting smoked. And Cole Strange, by the way, had a bad game today against Quinnen Williams. But I think Mac Jones, the biggest thing to work on for him directly is not holding on to the ball long, because I think the longer he holds on to the ball, the more he opens himself up to punishment and potentially turnovers and sacks, but also the higher chance he throws an interception, because then at some point he's just throwing the ball up there. He's throwing into coverage. The quicker he gets rid of the ball, much like they did with Zappi, I think that's where they can bring it together and make things a lot better for the offense. So take the skills that Mac has, but sprinkle in some of the quicker pace stuff that you did with Bailey Zappi, and I think they'll be able to have a lot of success.
We're at our time limit here, but just want to answer a question on YouTube. Jay Wees chiming in. Do you guys blame Mac for that first interception where he got his arm hit? Yeah, I think I mentioned, I'm not sure if he chimed in at the same time I was answering it, but I think we're all in agreement. Mac gets at least half blame for that, because he held the ball way too long. Obviously, at the same time, it's up to the offensive lineman to defend the passer, but is what it is. John, you just mentioned it as well. You got to get your reads faster. You're in the NFL. This isn't. Yeah. But at the same time, it seemed like he was going through it really well rookie year. But you had Josh McDaniels. There's a lot of layers to this onion that we're constantly peeling back week by week. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Find us next week. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter for the entire show. For everyone else, let's move on. Second quarter, Straight Facts Only.